Hello everyone, welcome back to Behind the Tune. Now, if anyone watching on YouTube might think this looks a bit weird, I'm wearing headphones and so is my guest today. That's because we're trialing something new today. Joining me today is an up-and-coming artist who's made the trek all the way from Newcastle. It's Matteo, aka Lupo The Boy. How you going?
Good to be here, man.
Yes, good. Thank you. Thanks for being here. So today we're going to do a bit of a different one. Usually we sort of dive into the experiences and the insights of each of the guests, which we'll still be doing today. But we're also going to add another element of production walkthrough. So Matteo and I have been in contact before this episode, and I've asked him to give us a rundown of his two most recent songs, which is Nobody Will Love You and Perfect Plate, which just got released. So Matteo's been an absolute gem and brought his laptop, and we're going to do a quick walkthrough. Not a quick walkthrough, I'm sure it'll be a bit longer than that, but we're going to do a run through of his songs. Hopefully you guys can follow along. And obviously, if you guys do enjoy this, please let me know either personally through email or through DM, or let me know in the comments if you enjoy the style episode and if you have any tips to improve it, because this is the first time we're doing this sort of episode on the podcast. So if you have any tips on how we can improve it and make it a better experience for you, for your listeners and watchers, please let me know. But anyways, now we'll get into the episode. Oh, we can start a Perfect Plate because it's your most recent release.
Yeah.
But I guess before we get into that, let's sort of run through your musical journey so far. You're all the way from Newcastle. Were you born and raised there?
Yeah, born and raised in Newcastle. Have been there, based there most of my life. Done the odd bit of travel as we tend to do through our 20s. And I spent a lot of time in Sydney. Always spent a lot of time in Sydney, either gigging or working. But in terms of music, I've just had a quite a musical life. My dad was a musician. My mum's a massive fan of music. She's one of the most knowledgeable people about music that I know without being a musician. So I was lucky enough to be raised on some pretty great music. And yeah, when it came into high school, and like I always played various instruments, kind of swapping around, and I always wanted to play drums because my dad was a drummer, but I don't think mum really wanted a drum kit around the house, so
Too loud.
Yeah, too loud. So they gave me the opportunity to play everything but drums, and then finally I think mum finally cracked in high school, and dad got me my first drum kit, which was cool, and never really looked back, and played in lots of bands and kind of did the band thing for a long time, even until my mid-20s, but electronic music was always there. I always, I got my first FL Studio, cracked FL Studio version when I was like 15, and just was producing like dumb beats with my mates. And
Was it trap beats, like rap beats?
a lot of like Euro house stuff.
Oh, wow,
We were
okay.
heaps into like Bass Hunter and like that kind of real trashy Euro trancey kind of stuff.
That's interesting because everyone I speak to, whenever they start making music, it's always just like trap rap beats.
Trap and hip hop.
I even
beats.
went through a phase where I was on downloaded a cracked version of FL.
Yeah.
Made like 2 rap beats. I'm like, this is for me.
Yeah.
And then just stopped it.
FL is that, right? FL's just like, I saw this thing and it's like, no matter how good you are at producing, there's always going to be some 16-year-old with like a cracked version of FL Studio who's way better than you.
Yeah. I think back then as well, rap was just like blowing up when I had it. It was just like that whole trap rap phase.
Yeah.
So I think everyone was trying to be a producer.
That's, yeah. Just download a splice sample, chuck it in, put a hectic beat over the top.
It's like, just some really basic drum pattern.
Yeah, it's good though.
And then you just put some random key on there that it's like completely out of key.
Yeah.
And then, you're like, oh, this sounds like shit. I'm not going to do this anymore.
Chuck it on SoundCloud and blow up.
And in terms of inspiration, sort of what you went from making sort of like Euro house bass hunter type music to now it's a lot more mellow, a lot more emotionally charged.
Yeah.
Was that like a natural progression, or was that sort of like a quick switch? And when did you make that?
That's a good question. I think from playing in bands quite a lot, and playing with artists, I did session drumming for quite a while, and playing with artists who were playing quite like emotionally driven music with bands. I think I finally felt comfortable like bridging that gap into electronic music. I think electronic music can kind of get a bad rap sometimes because people associate it with like clubs, and people associate it with, partying, and I think it can be so much more than that. People genuinely connect with electronic music, and I think what's really cool now is we're seeing a bit of a trend of like really emotionally charged dance music, similar to probably what we saw in like the 90s, where that kind of like scene was kind of really starting. People were getting a lot out of that like euphoric trance kind of movement, which is really cool. I think that it's nice that the electronic music is getting the spotlight that it deserves, like outside of clubs and outside of like people are just enjoying it.
More like casual listening.
Yeah. And I think that it's nice to be able to like cater to that. I think there was quite like when EDM was massive, there was kind of like this division of, you know, indie surf rock music and like EDM, and EDM was festivals and clubs and
like drug culture,
people getting cooked. And
yeah.
now it's so fine and so normal just to listen to like, you know, dance music, electronic music, like just walking to work.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people associate dance music with like just heavy like bass.
Yeah,
just like really like screeching noises.
Yeah,
but
which
like
is sick.
It is cool.
Like
yeah, don't get me wrong. But it's also there's another element of it where it's like more melodic.
Yeah, definitely
a lot more mellow.
Yeah, definitely.
Not intense bass kicks and stuff like
exactly.
that. Yeah, so everything sort of ties into one. And in terms of inspirations, I know we were sort of chatting about it earlier.
Yeah,
but a lot of people have sort of, from what I've read, associated with you with more like the Fred again sort of music, the over mono.
Yeah.
More do you associate yourself with that in that sort of, I guess, bracket of people? Or
yeah, I think Fred again is at that point now where like anyone that makes sample driven electronic music is going to kind of be compared to him. Similar how anybody in that early 2010s era making dubstep was getting compared to Skrillex. It's just one of the things that, you know, not the first person to do it, but kind of a pioneer of a sound. So, and I think it's really a really obvious like connection to make. I don't necessarily, you know, sit there and try and make a Fred again song. Right?
Yeah, of course.
I just make songs that I like and that I connect with. But I can definitely see the comparison. And I mean, like, look, what he does is absolutely incredible. So to be brought up in the same conversation is pretty amazing. But yeah, over mono, you know, there's a guy called Swimming Pool out of France who I really enjoy his stuff. He's just released an album. Jasper Tagner, like, I love Pretty Girl.
Oh yeah, Pretty Girl, yes.
Absolutely incredible. Pretty Girl's absolutely incredible. So when it comes to like similarities in you know, Fortet, absolutely incredible. I used to listen to a lot of like Aphex Twin and Burial. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, I guess we'll jump into the tracks. Let's play a small sample of Perfect Plate, just to give the listeners a bit of an idea of what the song is. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it on Spotify and SoundCloud.
Now, the only thing is I have to take the vocals out of it just for like a copyright thing.
Right, really?
So, because the vocals that I recorded, I'll tell the story in a bit. I'll play the instrumental.
Yeah. Start of the song?
Yeah, this is kind of like the first like build.
But the vocals aren't in there.
Vocals aren't in there, no.
But the phone call? The phone call vocal?
Oh, that's at the very start.
Yeah.
This is kind of the first like build to the first drop.
Because did you record your own vocals for this one?
I did.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the this is the raw version that hasn't been mixed. I kind of thought I'd bring the kind of raw version that I made before I went off into the studio with my my buddy Waylai and mixed it. So I had a sample. I like to use a lot of take a lot of samples from other songs and try and sample you know, from odd places. So I had a vocal sample that I'd taken from a song, an acoustic, like indie acoustic song, and it was all looking good. And then like the day before the track was due, the sample got declined.
Oh wow!
The main sample melody. So I didn't have a vocal line for it, and then my partner was like, "Well, why don't you just sing it?" And I am not a singer. So a lot of hours that night spent writing lyrics, trying to come up with lyrics. And my partner, she is a singer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I mentioned before Waylai, the legend that and one of my best mates that helps me mix and makes everything sound amazing. We sat in my bedroom because I was in between houses at the time. Sat in my bedroom till like 1 a.m. trying to make something happen and trying to sing the song and get the version that we have now. So I think we finished at like 2 a.m. and then went home. Caleb went home and he did his magic and did a quick little like mix on the vocals. And then I went around to his house, to his studio the next day and we like smashed everything out again and did a couple of more like top lines and harmonies and got it into the label. Yeah, like with like an hour to spare.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. So you like sent them the song right before it?
Yeah, sent them the song before and they loved it. We had it like ready to go. We're kind of hoping the sample cleared and it just didn't, which, you know, happens. Yeah. And it was probably a bit adventurous for me to expect that it would clear and be confident and submit it.
Was the original sample, like the vocal, was that similar to what you recorded, or
kind of, yeah,
in terms of like the tone, like the mood of it?
The mood of it is similar, yeah. Different melody, but yeah, the mood of it was quite similar. I wish I could play it for you, but I'm not allowed.
Your one, or
no, I can play my one.
Yeah.
I just can't play the
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, I just can't play the other one.
So with your one, what effects and stuff did you put on it?
Yeah, on the vocals.
Do you have the raw one?
Yeah, so let me have a look and see if I have. We can cut all the names of these out.
That's all good, yeah.
So when we recorded it, we recorded just into a Shure SP7.
Yeah,
and then with a couple of the vocal lines, because I've done vocals on tracks before where like they've been so morphed and distorted and changed that you don't really know. It's not like a proper top line, but with this one I wanted to try and make it sound quite lo-fi. But what I've kind of noticed is, for me anyway, when we're doing like lo-fi stuff, is record it as well as you can and then destroy it from there. So would record it, send it over to an iPhone, play it out of iPhone speakers into a microphone like that. Yeah. And just keep doing things like that to really like destroy the quality of sound.
That sort of like a voice note.
Yeah, effect, yeah. Without trying to like, yeah. So
so that's sort of what we went for. We went for more of like a distorted.
Yeah, more of like a really kind of distorted like lo-fi vocal. I don't. Yeah, I'm not really sure what we've got here, but oh yeah, there's heaps of random takes. Oh yeah, this is Lindsay, my partner's take, trying to write like a melody. So many like takes for us to try and get something.
You cut it up?
And yeah, we like cut it up and comped it. And so Lindsay was helping me write the melody, and we kind of came up with a melody. And then we jumped over to another file and did it. But yeah, it was a bit of a, I won't lie, I had a bit of a mentee bee during it.
Yeah, I think writing vocals at 2 a.m. last minute before something to come out is, I feel like that's warranted.
Yeah, definitely. Especially as someone who's like not comfortable behind a microphone, like being I'm a drummer. I sit behind everybody, and I've got a big drum kit around me. And even as a DJ, right, like you're kind of there with your decks, and no one's really focusing on anything other than the music. Do
you reckon you'll include your vocals more, or do you think that was just a one-off based on the circumstances?
You know what? I actually think that I might. Yeah, I actually think that I might. I didn't mind the process. I thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah, right. Do you have the vocals? Like, do you have them on this file, or are they in a different file?
I thought I did, but I think they might be with Caleb, actually.
Oh, that's all good. We can, yeah. Well, I mean, we can sort of chat about the vocals, but we won't be able to hear them. But sort of another thing in this track as well, you integrated a lot of different like voice samples. Yeah. There's like that rap sort of
Yeah,
that sort of rap sample, and then you obviously have your one, and then that high pitched one that sort of comes in here and there.
Yeah.
Did you build the track around the vocals?
Yeah, so I built the track around the piano line.
Right.
Yeah, so there are a lot of vocal samples in there, but I really like when people use vocal tracks as like percussive elements. So with the rap vocal, like it doesn't really matter what it's saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how it feels.
Yeah, right.
Because it adds a bit of a drive to the song. Like,
You don't wanna step to the man like. 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 You don't wanna
Yeah,
step to the man
it's a bit more of an aggressive side of the song, because like the whole song
Exactly.
itself is very mellow and
Yeah.
calm, and then you sort of have this vocal.
and it kind of because the bass lines drag out and because the pads are really like they're just dragging out, that gives it a bit of like
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, you sort of it does act more of like a sort of instrument rather than like
Yeah.
a vocal sample.
and to me, like, it really doesn't matter what it says.
Yeah.
It matters how it hits, which I think a lot of dance producers kind of use that. You know, I think I was listening to your podcast with Ephesian,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking about like using rap vocals, like 80s and 90s rap vocals through like techno songs. And I think it's a really good example because, you know, techno songs can be quite basic in terms of their like structure. So having that vocal there as a consistent like pattern, adding a new level of like percussion makes it interesting.
Mm. Yeah. Where the other vocal? Where was that
The
one
other
sort of
vocal,
sourced from?
the other
What
one
was the inspiration, but like, why did you choose that particular one?
The other vocal, to be honest, I think it was just a splice sample.
Oh, really?
That I found ages ago, and I really liked it, and I think it's heaps funny because where is it? It seems funny because I actually did 2 different collaborations with different artists, and I really wanted to build tracks around that vocal line, but we just didn't get to the point. We just didn't get to the point where we were happy with it.
Mm.
So where is it?
Is that another vocal?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So I didn't hear that one. That's all in the background, isn't it?
So that's vocal chopped underneath.
How does that sound
And
within the whole song?
There's another vocal underneath that.
Oh, wow. So I only heard, I can really only hear like 3.
Yeah.
It was your one, the sort of phone call at the start, and
Mhm.
then that rap one, and then that. 4, should I say? Which is the one that sort of you're searching for now. But I didn't realize that you sort of chopped up.
Oh,
That's
it
the
there.
one. Yeah. Is that the original vocal, or did you sort of add anything to it?
No, I added, so on this one, what is that? A bit of chroma, which is like an effect that allows you to tune like fragments around a song, so around a sound, sorry. So it's kind of like auto-tune in a way, but for everything else that's happening other than just the vocals. So all of the white noise, all the reverb, everything like that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and then a bit of delay, a bit of EQ. I did a lot more mixing when we exported the stems and went over to the studio. So what you see here is not everything that's happened, but there's quite a few things happening. When we look at like different vocals, we've got some other vocals I've recorded and then retuned. I like running things through guitar amps.
Just to give like a different sort of sound.
Yeah. And then just gating things to get that like stutter effect.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of, again, adds a bit more of a percussive element on the back. Then there's this chop as well, which is kind of just adds this nice little percussive harmony going on. I use a lot of vocal layers in all of my songs. And then this...
I'm noticing that now that I'm sort of seeing it broken down.
Yeah. So
is this during the breakdown?
this is during the main drop. So instead of instead of having chords, like just typical chords, I wanted to try and make chords, I guess, out of the vocals. So I got these vocals, chopped them up into the chord progression that I wanted, and then got an EQ and automated an EQ to like change the formant of the vocals. So when we change the formant of the vocals, like if your voice is going like R, E, I, O, like vowel sounds almost, and so each chord change or note change, it changes like the vowel sound. And that kind of keeps going throughout all of the song. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. Sort of like here, I want to pick on the breakdown a little bit because it sort of goes from that sort of, again, a mellow song, but you sort of drop the energy during the sort of breakdown. How did you develop that breakdown from the first sort of drop?
Yeah, good question. The song all came from the piano line. So I actually got the idea of the song from just jamming on a piano over like a drone, which is kind of how my writing process tends to go.
Yeah.
So I have a bank of drones that I have either made or I've re-recorded, and there just sounds like that.
This is you played this?
Yeah. So I have these in like a sample bank that I've either recorded and kept, made from different things, and I just played this in the background, so it just sounded like that. And then I sat down at my piano and
that's with the sample?
Yeah. Well, that's just
With
the drone, yeah. And then so it's just me kind of sitting at the piano, messing around and just kind of picked a key, and I went D sharp and just played and kind of came up with that, and there's a few mistakes and things that I have kept in there.
It's a bit more authentic. A bit more
Yeah. Kind of sounds a bit more human.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really hear it. It sounds natural that with the way the song is like produced and structured.
Yeah.
So.
Like even there you can hear these like like little things, but in the context of the song, they're like happy accidents.
Yeah, right. And then did you sort of build a breakdown around?
Yeah. Like that, so it kind of works.
I love you because you love me because of what you see. And sometimes I don't see it in myself. And it makes me feel wonderful. It just made my day. Thank you.
So you sort of singled out that voice.
Yeah.
Cool. I wanted to ask about that. Sort of what's the inspiration behind that voice? Was that like
the high pitched one or the telephone?
No,
one?
the telephone one. Was that one of your voice notes, or did you again?
No, I found it. I do a lot of digging through YouTube for like spoken word poetry or just watching like emotionally charged kind of videos,
like hopecore.
Yeah, like a bit of hopecore. And I found this one, and it was like 50. I can't remember what it was called. It was like 50 people calling someone to tell them they love them, and they just like filmed people. And I was there like a mess watching this thing, and it was, I don't know, it was probably like on a Sunday and had scaries or something, and just sat there and yeah, kind of watched it. I'm like, this would actually be really cool. And that's how that came about. Yeah, so it is actually, I didn't put an effect on that. It is actually someone on the phone.
Yeah, right. The sort of the message of the song and your inspiration behind it, does that voice note sort of fit the inspiration behind the song? It does,
yeah, it does. I think like this song in particular, we've kind of done it the other way around, because I mean I had it open, but Nobody Will Love You was I was going through a weird point in my life, and it was kind of a bit of like head noise, and you know, I think for me, and maybe a lot of creatives have this, but a lot of people have this, like if you're not really great at explaining how you're feeling, sometimes doing something with that emotion can help. And I think for me, like even though it's dance music and you know it's pretty unhuman to sit at a computer and make bleep bloops, for me I find it really cathartic and therapeutic. But when it came to Perfect Plate, yeah, I kind of had a new lease on life and in a really good place, and yeah, it did kind of reflect that. So it kind of like fell into my lap in a time that it meant the most, which was cool.
I think that's what I read about the release. You explained that it's sort of when something good in your life happens unexpectedly.
Yeah, I think
this sort of reflects that. I think that's what you mentioned.
Yeah, I think when you feel like you're down and out, and you've kind of accepted, you're like, all right, I'm here. And then you don't really go looking for anything. And I don't know what that might be. It could be like a new job. It could be a new relationship. It could be a new friendship group, whatever it is. Like the less you look, kind of the more it tends to happen. I think when you go in with zero expectations, that's when the best thing. And it's the same with writing music. Like if I want to sit down and I want to sit down, I'm going to write a fucking banger. It probably won't happen, right? Like
because you go in with that expectation.
Exactly.
Like,
I think this is my favorite song personally that I've written because the process was so fun. But also like I wrote that piano line, which was an accident, and then I was on my way to work in Sydney, and I had it's like a 3-hour train trip, and I had my laptop with me, and I just opened my laptop and then I wrote the whole song on the train trip.
On the way to work.
Yeah, on the way to work. So from that piano line, which I had recorded at home, I did the entire thing in that one trip. And it just kind of like it just happened.
You refined it,
and then
like the core of the song.
Exactly. That like pretty much 95% of it was done. And then I went back and sat on it for a little bit, sent it to the label. They liked it and they want me to make a few changes, and which they're suggestions, they're not demands. The label is amazing. And yeah, just it kind of happened.
You mentioned like obviously say the sort of inspiration of the song is when something happens too unexpectedly during a time of like trouble or like hardship. Did something happen in like sort of for you, or was this song sort of that moment that sort of was just happened out of nowhere? Like you made a great song. Yeah,
no, I think I spent a lot of last year. I was traveling around Europe for about 10 months. I left my job and just kind of wanted to go do a little bit more. And I was traveling with a partner who I'm no longer with and didn't come home with. And I think I came home maybe like with a better understanding of who I was, but maybe a little bit more confused about like where I wanted to go. And so I think coming back home and going back to work and like going back to music and going back to normal life took a little bit of adjusting. And then I think a couple of months in, I really found my feet like kind of unexpectedly, and everything just kind of fell into place, like life-wise and relationship-wise. I met a beautiful new partner, and yeah, it just all kind of happened. So yeah.
Were you producing music while you were in Europe?
I was producing and did some studio work with some people in Portugal, which was cool. Some like world musicians in Portugal, which was pretty fun. But yeah, I kind of just wanted to take some time away from like performing and time away from and just go like experience and be a punter again, which was really nice in like a fresh environment, which was really cool. Yeah.
What sort of stuff did you see in Europe? Like, who did you see? Anyone? Or we were just sort of going to parties and events.
Going to events and parties and like some doofs, and yeah, I went to this doof in Sicily on the side of Mount Etna, which was
it scenic?
It was insane. So it was like this 3-part doof where you went into like the forest for one of them, and then they shut down the forest stage and they had like buses. And then you got on the bus and it took you to the next part of the doof, which was like a little amphitheater. And then the last part of the doof was like closer to the top of the volcano on a vineyard. And you got to like watch the sun come up like over Sicily on this like vineyard mountain.
What the fuck?
It was one of the most insane. And
Sounds
I
surreal.
went by myself. And I didn't know anyone there. And yeah, I got stared at, I think, a lot because I look like a complete. I'm Italian, but I think, and I'm not Sicilian, but I looked like an outsider, definitely.
Was it more of like a local party, or was there a bit
it was odd, man. Like, it was definitely a local party, but they had like DJs from all around Europe coming, and I don't really know the idea of what it was, but I think it was government funded. But it was like kind of how we get grants here.
Yeah,
it was just they gave these people a grant to do something creative, and with that they did a doof.
They focused on the whole experience, so they literally took you from like one
because
one
it would have
stage
cost
to another.
a fortune, because there were people there, but there wasn't like that many people there.
How many do you reckon?
Maybe like, I don't know, 200-300, if that.
Still a logistical nightmare to get 300 party goers.
It was a logistical nightmare to get home. I had to bribe someone €40 to drive me home because they like stopped. They got you to the top of the like in classic Italian fashion. They organised half of it, and they got us to the top of the mountain, or not the top of the mountain, but the top part of the door for the vineyard. And then they didn't really have like a plan to get people back, and it was like a 30-minute drive back down, and it was like 7 in the morning after like, you know, we'd been at this doof since 12 the day before. And so I just kind of like found this one random driver, and I was like, man, I need to go home. I'll give you €40 to take me back to my place. And then he drops me off like, I don't know, 10 minutes away from where I was meant to be. And
That's $80 to get home.
Dude, it
cheaper
was
than Sydney.
So cheaper than Sydney. Cheaper than a train from the airport.
What about the drums in this song?
Yeah,
they're not really the forefront of the song.
they're not. You're
but they're
right.
more of the background.
Yeah, let me.
How did you develop? Did you build those out yourself, or were
I
they
did.
any samples? What's that?
That's actually like a vocal line,
There's more and more vocals the more we're discovering this song is.
There's some. So that was a loop that I found with the like little vocal chop on it.
So did you build the drums out for that one, and then put the vocal on top of it?
I think no, that one was just a loop with the vocal, which was kind of cool.
Oh, so that wasn't drums. That's just like someone's voice.
Someone's going like,
oh wow,
yeah, someone like beatboxing, which was kind of cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's sick. I thought that was a drum with a vocal on top of it.
And then
Right.
And everything is swung real heavy, so there's like there's quite a big groove on there. So it's not quite on the beat, which gives it that little bit of that pull. And I think if you combine that with the rap vocals that I was talking about before, you kind of get the idea of like the percussiveness. Also, if you're a producer out there and you're watching this, please don't judge me on my chaotic session view. Gives it that bit of that flow.
Yeah, they go well together as well.
Yeah.
It sounds like its own little song.
It does, yeah. Which is kind of cool. So yeah, with the drums, my actual favorite part of the drums is this like build section, which I kind of wanted, like, you know, when you're building up in like a rock song, there's like the do on the drums. I kind of wanted that, but I didn't know how to do it properly without making it sound too cheesy. And then Caleb Waylai, the producer I was working with, who mixed the song, was like, just do it with a kick. And I'm like, that'll sound shit. And then he did it, and it sounded fucking awesome. So what do I know? Yeah, right. There's that bit of like,
is that for the drop?
Yeah,
that comes in for the first one or second one?
For the second one. Yeah. And so when that was mixed, this one is obviously not mixed, but it just like gives this bit of, I don't know, this build, this tension, and it hits real hard. Kind of like what you would have when you do a build in like a rock song. Yeah. Yeah.
Are there any other elements in it that are more sort of like ambient?
Ambient?
Or sort of like just like tonal stuff in the background?
Yeah, definitely. So there's the drone.
Yep.
And there's one of these drones in every single one of my original songs. It's kind of where I base like everything off, is I build it off a drone. It helps me understand like where the song can go.
You said you've built those sort of drone samples.
Yeah, I
What do
have.
you use to build those drone samples?
So I've got a mixture of just like serum pads that I've either made or gotten from preset packs, and then also I will freeze reverbs. So you can put reverb on a piano, for example, and then press freeze, and then put another reverb on that and press freeze, and then it just kind of comes out, and then you can automate your EQ, and that's how you get that kind of like flowing, changing effect. So you're kind of changing the frequencies. Also recording a piano line, putting a heap of reverb on it, bouncing that out, reversing it, putting a heap of reverb on that, and then just layering reverb and making it quite tonal.
Yeah, right.
So yeah.
Was there anything in this track that you did new that you haven't sort of tried
Sang.
before? Oh yeah, actually,
sang on it.
I completely forgot that. But anything in terms of sort of the instrumental side of things?
The instrumental side of things. That's a good question. I think with the piano, what I often find, which is the difficult part of dance music, is like it is so perfect. Like you're working to a grid, right? So it is quite perfect. So with the piano, I kind of just left it like unquantized and unsynced, and you can even see if I like scroll along, it's just chaos. And I think it was like a creative decision to do that because it made it more human. Normally, I think when we're writing dance music, we try and make things quite precise, and things happen every 4 bars, and you know it fits to this grid. So I think that was actually quite freeing and quite new.
I think that's very unique to that sort of style of music.
Yeah.
Or at least for this sort of style, because if you look at sort of anything that's a bit faster, if something's offbeat, then it's like everything sort of goes out of whack.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, I feel like you have the liberty to be able to have things out of sync, or not having, like as you said, you know, when you're playing the piano, there was a mistake there. Yeah. And that actually fits the song perfectly.
I think you're right. I'm not a perfectionist. Like I think anyone that I collaborate with or that I've worked with probably gets annoyed that I kind of want to just go to the next thing, because I kind of like the idea of having mistakes and like humanizing what we do. Otherwise it can come across as like too polished and too processed. So I think leaving that in there was a kind of a creative decision. Also layering the pianos. That was interesting. I have like an old Korg M1, which if you've heard any 90s or even now recent like house piano, that's like a Korg M1. And then
was that one here?
Yeah, so it's very sharp. That's a very like classic digital piano sound.
How's that go with the rest? What else did you layer with that?
Layered another really detuned kind of like tape piano. And then another really kind of like sharp, glassy piano. So together, kind of all that comes together. And there's a bit of detuning on it as well. And that kind of makes it like the piano stand out in the mix.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I think it's been a very interesting breakdown of your song. I've realized that there's a lot more vocals in there than I initially expected.
Yeah,
especially with the drum, the sort of the beatbox.
Yeah, well, the cool thing is like it has this melody, right? And there's no chords. It's all vocals. And that little piano line. So yeah.
And just one last thing in terms of structuring. How did you go about sort of the intro? It's very the song sort of goes like that, and then it goes up, and then it comes back down.
It does,
and then back down.
I think,
is that a common pattern you follow? Because I think from memory, from listening to a few of your songs, you sort of follow that sort of. Yeah. It just build up, and then there's like a.
Yeah, it's like musical. Yeah. It's anticipation, right? of kind of getting somewhere. But I find starting the song is always the hardest part, especially now because we're in like, the TikTok generation of you need something to hook you with really quickly. And I think Spotify and SoundCloud and Apple Music is the same issue, where people are so quick to skip a song when it comes on. You need something to like hook you right away. So
what did you do to sort of still stick true to sort of
Mm.
build it out properly.
Yeah.
But then also sort of hook someone into
I
the
think
song.
the piano, like when I got feedback from the label and from mates and stuff, the biggest piece of feedback I got was like the piano at the start kind of like whacks you.
I'm gonna get emotional. I just wanted to call and I love you.
Oop, I muted the piano. That doesn't help.
I think the vocal, like the sort of
I just wanted to call and I love you.
yeah.
I love you
It's like,
because
oh,
you
okay,
love me.
that's quite nice. And then
What you
it
see.
swells and
Sometimes I don't see it in myself.
I think that sort of that voice recording
Mm.
with the piano.
Yeah.
It just it's a bit of intrigue. It's like,
Yeah.
ooh, this is going to be an emotional journey.
yeah, that's the plan. I just want to make
Yeah.
someone cry in a club.
Well, is this what did you make the song for more casual listening, or is it something that you think you'd play in a club, or is it more of a song that you'd sort of incorporate within your sets?
That's good question. I didn't have an intention. I think that sometimes sometimes my music translates over into the club and sometimes it falls flat. It all depends on like what the crowd's looking for. You know, I think if you're playing like hard techno bangers and you drop this, it might not work.
End of the night.
Yeah. But I think that, you know, if you are kind of like leading your audience through a bit of a journey where you're not just driving hard the whole time, then tracks like this do really work. They're a bit of like a breather. And I think especially like in that last drop where the bass line changes and it becomes quite euphoric, you know, it is quite a danceable, clubby track. And I've done it in both. Like I've played it in a live show where I've, you know, played it and sung and played piano, and then I've done it in a DJ set as well. So it works in both of those. But yeah, I mean, if I'd love to see people getting down to it in a club, but I also don't mind if you listen to it on the way to work or brushing
It's
your
one of
teeth.
those songs though, isn't it, where you can sort of, it's got that versatility.
Yeah, I think that's what we were saying before. Like when it comes to the new age of dance music, it's really nice that you've got producers that are making songs for both listening and clubs.
Because it's important to capture that casual listening audience.
Yeah,
So then you can translate that to club
exactly.
audiences.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, I guess that's sort of a good breakdown of that song.
Yeah.
We'll get into the next one, which is a bit sadder. I guess I don't know.
It's
about
a
the
sad name, right? It's just a sad boy name.
I don't know about the backstory behind it, but the next song will be "Nobody Will Love You," which was released last year or
Start of this
year.
Yeah, start of this year, I think.
What was your sort of headspace going into that song?
Yeah, I think it was just like, for me, sometimes it's nice to be quite literal with how you're feeling, and I think that when you get it out there and you sometimes when you're thinking darker thoughts or you're thinking sadder thoughts, when you say it out loud, you realize the gravity of it, and then you kind of just laugh it off because you're like, that's a ridiculous statement. And sometimes when you say things out loud, that's when it becomes real. And for me, I think that was not saying it out loud, but putting it into a song and then realizing that was a stupid thing to say. But
It turned into a great song.
it turned out to be a fucking sick song, so worth it.
Yeah, right. Because again, with that song, you sort of follow that same. You have that sort of voice recording, or not. It wasn't really a voice recording. It was more of like a. I'm not sure. I feel like I've heard that somewhere before. The whole it was the girl saying he looks.
Yeah, that was another one of those clips.
I feel like I've heard
Hardcore.
it before though, because I literally when I heard that song, I was like, wait a minute, I've heard this. Exact.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I don't know where I heard it from.
But
yeah,
it was. Is this it? If you're a producer watching this, you can feel me when you don't know the names of your projects.
Yeah, I'm sure there's more in there that meets the eye as well. Just a rabbit hole of
There's
just
so
files.
much, so much shit music in my Ableton.
Just like demos and stuff like that.
Just demos and yeah.
This is Nobody Will Love You. We'll play a bit of a snippet of it for everyone to get an idea.
Cool. Let me turn on all of the stuff because that way you can actually hear it. Because that's what we're here for, isn't it?
Sort of like, yeah, so what were you sort of, I guess, creatively as well? Where were you when you made this song?
Yeah, I think I'd just gotten back from Europe, and I was feeling a little bit maybe lost, just because I'd gotten home and you know you're like, what do I do? I was sleeping on the floor of a friend's place, who they were so lovely to take me in, and it was just like one of those things of, what am I doing? Yeah, I got to go back to work. I got to like do these things. Like, what do I want to do? And I think it wasn't necessarily that I was in like a bad place. It was more like the emotional come down of being on an adventure for 10 months.
Yeah, that would hit anyone.
And coming back to reality and going, oh my God, like you're in this on your own and you just got to kind of like do your thing. And yeah, I think it just, for me, it's cathartic to like put stuff into like to build something.
Did you work at all while you were in Europe, or just 10 months of just pure
Just
holidaying?
pure holidaying.
You
I did a couple of like, little like work away things where I'd like I did some world musician recording in Portugal when I stayed at this place for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something, and helped them record music and did some things like that. So like a little bit of studio work. But yeah.
Yeah, because you said like you were sort of going through a difficult time in this song, coming back from Europe and sort of that reality sinking in. Did you work with anyone else, or was this more of a solo project? Because the last one you said you worked on with obviously your partner, and then
this one was a solo project. Caleb Waylai, look him up. He mixes most of my songs. So once I kind of finish and structure everything together, I'm not someone who has like a massive eye for detail. I kind of like just like rushing down ideas and getting things sorted, and then we'll focus on it with someone later when I go down and do all the mixes, and it's just not the way my brain works. So when I got it all down into Ableton and did it all, it was probably like 99% done, and then went to work with Waylai and Caleb and finalize those kind of like finishing touches.
Play a bit of a snippet of it now, and then we'll go and get into it.
Yeah.
Where my first question would be around the intro. So again, you use those voice notes, or that voice recording. Did that come again from a YouTube video?
I think that was a Hopecore video. Yeah, I got really addicted to Hopecore in the like few months that I was back in Australia and didn't have a job.
We've all been there. We've all been addicted to Hopecore at one point or another.
So this
I
is
was
it.
really happy. Oh my God, I don't want to cry.
Yeah, I think it was something, I can't even remember, like maybe a TikTok video or something about someone crying about a breakup.
What made you choose that one in particular? Like, why that particular vocal? Was it sort of just like you just saw it and you're like, yeah, this is good, and we'll chuck it in?
I think that one was kind of nice. It's like, I think we've been in relationships, or we've seen mates in relationships where like they're kind of just like glassy eyed, and you kind of like, you don't look happy, but you're here, right? And I don't know if most of us have probably been in one of those, and I just think that related to that, and it kind of tied in with the theme of the song, and yeah, it was just it fit kind of like the last one, like it hit me a bit, and it fit. But yeah, I'm a sucker for Hopecore.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I feel like your music as well would fit into a Hopecore video.
Maybe we can do
see
that.
it.
Maybe we can get it viral doing a Hopecore video.
Yeah, Hopecore video.
If you are a Hopecore influencer, hit me up.
But yeah, I feel like elements of your song, like a breakdown or something, will be featured in a Hopecore video.
Yeah, maybe we can only hope.
What did you build the song around? Was it again the vocals, the samples, the drums, the piano? Like, what was it built around?
This one was built around more of the vocals. So in the lead up to this song was actually quite a big pivot for me, because I hadn't yet released a song that was an original song that had a proper vocal melody. So everything before this was like chops and leads and really quick samples and stuff. So for me, this was like departed quite heavily from what I was traditionally doing. And I found just like a vocal sample somewhere, or someone sent me a vocal sample of someone singing.
Take me into your arms
And I really liked it.
and take me over.
And then
Take me into your arms
and again another drone that I had.
and take me over. Take me into your arms.
So yeah,
So who's singing that? Is that someone
No
you
idea.
know, or is that a sample?
no idea.
You just
I think it's
took
a sample. Someone sent it to me. They're like, "This is cool." I'm like, "That is really cool."
And then you built the song around that.
Yeah.
What came next after the vocal? The drone? Or was the drone later?
Yeah, it was probably the drone that I got, and then I chopped up the vocals again. So I found some more little. So recorded a lot of these little like snippets with lots of effects.
Is that
Things
on a
like
drone?
That's
Or is that more
that's
like
like a chopped vocal that's repeating.
For the background, the little like.
Yeah, it's like a vocal stretched vocal.
Oh wow! Okay,
Like,
yeah.
I work a lot with vocals. Just got like the sound, the performance sounds.
You can work. There's a lot. You can manipulate the vocals.
Yeah,
as well.
and then again more vocal chops. Like,
what do you use for your vocal chop? Is there a particular plugin, or do you do it yourself?
I have I have a variety of different ways. I have a machine at home, the sample pad. So you can load vocals into that and kind of just like mess around with that and get chops. I'll just if I just have my computer, I'll just go in and chop things randomly, or I will use. I'll open it up. There is an instrument on Ableton, which is called Simpler. And you can like load a vocal sample into Simpler. And then if we go down to slice mode here.
Does it for you?
Well, it just becomes like.
And you can and you sort of record that.
Yeah, you record that. And then what I'll do I can like automate it. So I can put like an arpeggiator at the start, which might like trigger it. Which might trigger it at the start. You can put an arpeggiator there, and then if we, I don't know, let's do a little like let's test my production knowledge
On the spot here.
And then you can like just add in heaps of notes like this. And yeah, get it to like play different things. You can get like a randomizer. So if we go back into this and we want to, highlight that and randomize the velocity, and then you can add like a velocity thing, which just will change and automate these chops. I'm butchering how to explain this. I promise.
Do you combine the plugins with it, like all those sort of things, or do you usually work with just one particular plugin for a chop?
I kind of like to just kind of honestly just click and hope and mess around with sounds, and if I like something, I'll save it so I can come back to it next time.
Yeah, right.
So like those vocal chops, they come from either me messing around on my machine or messing around with the velocity kind of glitch way of doing it. There's also like different Max for Live plugins. This is a sick one. If you don't have it, I know a lot of people use it, but it's called Sting. And yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
What does that do?
So it's like a randomizer. It's really good for like if you're doing making like acid house. Because
sort of the acidy effect, like the sort of plucking.
Like if I load Serum into this, like it just randomizes sounds, which is really cool. And then if you use that, and then you chuck on like a scale, a major scale, and then pick your key. So let's see, what was this one? D major. So that would now be in key, which is cool. And then you can just like randomize bass lines and notes and things like that. So you can actually do that with vocal chops. So
sort of load the vocal chop into there.
Exactly.
And then it would just randomize the vocal chop.
Exactly, randomize vocal chops. So I would kind of do that and like leave it. You can also like you can get a randomizer to randomize the randomizer, which is cool.
Just topping it up.
Yeah. So you can kind of like like get a random an LFO. Where is it down here? And you can, map an LFO to this, and just have it randomizing every so often, and then you just press record and
Load the vocal in there.
load the vocal and go make a cup of coffee and come back, and you'll have, like 20 minutes of vocal chops, and then you can sit and listen and cut it all up.
And that's what you've done.
Yeah, so I've got a combination of that. I've got a combination of just hand chops where I've done manually. Yeah, so there's a bunch of random things.
So would you do the randomizer and then you would manually chop it up?
Exactly, yeah.
Also,
So that kind of gets that just gives you ideas.
Yeah,
and then
right.
you can kind of go back, and then you can go, I like that, I'll take that, I'll take that. Yeah.
What was the original? Do you have the original one for that particular
the original
chop?
sound?
I love you like I do. Nobody will love you. I love you like I do. And nobody will treat you like I do.
I think I've just got little altar boy on this.
Sounds like a song that I know.
I love you like I do.
Yeah.
Nobody will love you. I love you like I do.
It's kind of just a basic
And then you
vocal,
chopped it
and
up
then
and
just
then-
chopped it up and made random things.
Yeah, right. And in terms of sort of, is there anything in the song that's sort of like in the background, just like little
Snippets.
like little tonal things or things that are sort of more for the intent listener?
Yes. There's some piano that I recorded.
Different mappings and stuff.
Yeah,
maybe?
different like piano that I recorded and reversed.
It sort of fills out the track.
Yeah, it kind of fills out the track. I use a lot of reverse piano because it gives you that sweeping like sound that goes into other parts. So I do that quite a lot. If you're looking at like my screen recording and you're seeing a lot of audio, I much prefer to work in audio than work in MIDI. So I often record things and then convert it into audio. I just find it so much easier to work with, and it just it makes my life heaps easier. So I'm quite basic I'm quite simple when it comes to my production stuff. I know a lot of guys, they mix as they go along, but it just doesn't. My brain doesn't compute that way. So I kind of get the bare bones of the song down and try and get the song finished and structured, and then I go in later and do the mixing and work with Caleb and Waylai on and getting the mix right and yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of, is there anything else in the background that you use any other vocals for instruments?
That's a good question. I don't think there's as many in this one as there is the last song we went through, but this one kind of was built more around. There's a cute little sparkle.
What is it? Is that reverse as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just kind of sitting in the background.
Do you play those pianos? Every piano that you hear in your song, is that all recorded by you, or do you sample any pianos?
All the pianos are me. There's a couple of like the sparkle. I think it was a sample from maybe demo tapes. And there's like some saws and stuff that are me as well.
So do you write a lot of your music within Ableton, or do you write it through sort of hardware, like stuff that you have?
So in my studio setup, I have just like a 66 key piano sitting here, and that's just plugged directly into Ableton. So I kind of sit with that, and I press I have it recording into MIDI into here, and then I kind of just sit and I play. And then if I go back and listen, I'm like, all right, if any of those chord progressions are good, or if any of those little leads are good, then I'll keep them and save them in a file and use them later, or make a song out of it. Yeah, I don't have too much hardware at the moment. I used to have a lot of synths. I used to like rebuilding and rewiring synths. I used to find them at like op shops and then just resolder them or something and load the patches on them and sell them. But I kind of sold all my stuff to go traveling. But now I've just got my piano and my machine. And a couple of little MIDI controllers. But yeah, I just tend to do everything in Ableton.
Ableton, yeah. I mean, that's what I meant. Do you sort of write all your stuff through like keyboards and and stuff like that, and then you record it? That's what I meant. I didn't mean as in like, obviously you record into Ableton, but do you sort of do anything within Ableton to create your music? Or is everything sort of done through the piano, through the synth pads?
No, it's all kind of done through Ableton. Like when I go in and make like all the serum patches, right? The synth patches, like because not everything wants to sound like a piano. So that's all done within Ableton, and all the structuring of the sounds is done within Ableton. Like, you know, creating the basses and all that kind of stuff is all done within Ableton. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that you think the hardest part for you, at least, is starting a song. How did you where did this song sort of start? Where did you?
Yeah, I think this one started from memory. Like when I got sent the vocal line, I was like, that's actually really beautiful. And I thought, you know, I've done enough sample based, you know, stuttery kind of vocals and chopped up vocals. Maybe I will do something that people might be able to like sing along to. And so that's where it started. But again, I'd been going through the Hope Core videos, and I'm like, that could actually be kind of a cool thing to include. So that's where the start of it came from.
Those drums.
Yeah.
What's that little, like the little ding in the background?
The little ding.
Yeah. That sort of little.
What is that? Man, I made this a while ago. I actually don't know. Yeah, it's a cool sound, hey.
What's that little?
There's a guitar in there. Yeah, there's a guitar in there,
Oh, that's cool.
which is cool. And then there's that little sample.
And that's laid on the guitar.
Yeah, that's laid on the guitar, and then there's that. Oh, it's a sparkle. So it's the demo tapes, little sparkle. I think it's demo tapes.
Oh, it sounds like its own little, like it's like a periodic ding, but it's
Yeah.
actually like
It's just within this, yeah. He uses a lot of like granular delays in his samples, which is really, really cool because it kind of gets that like layering effect. I use a lot of granular delays with my pianos, so you get those little sparkles and those little elements that they're not like necessarily deliberate, but they just add a bit of like texture.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
Yeah.
So I mean, I noticed it, and then I didn't realize it was actually part of
Yeah.
that part of the track. In terms of the drums, how did you go about building those out? Did you build those around? Were they sort of first built out?
No, they weren't actually. They were like something that I kind of worked with. Like I had the idea for the song, and I was like, I just want to make it quite simple with some big pads and base it around the vocals again. Like use the vocals as more of a percussive thing.
Did you use any vocals here as like as a drum?
No, just this one's purely just drums.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No beatboxing on this one.
no beatboxing in this one. A little bit of some reversed like, which is cool.
Yeah, right.
And something that I try and I don't know, I do a bit of it in my songs. A lot of producers, they will pull the kick out of like the last bar of a phrase. Like in techno, it's often you like pull the kick out of the last bar of the phrase. I kind of pull the kick out on the first bar of the new phrase, and then reverb and delay some hats, and then kind of to like make it swell. So in context, it sounds like this. So the kick kind of like comes out instead of finishing on that, starts on that.
Right. Okay.
And then kind of like hits again.
Sort of like subtle.
It's almost
subtle
like a
aspects,
double swell. Yeah.
How do you go about building drums for your songs though? Because obviously for music, the one like you make, the drums aren't really, and the kick aren't really like
They're not the
driving
main
elements
focal point. No,
of
it's
the,
not like
of the track. It's more the piano, the vocals, the synths. How do you go about building sort of drums to sort of have that, still be the drums of the track, but not overpower the rest of the song?
I think sample selection is like the biggest thing. Like sitting there for hours and just going through kicks and going like driving yourself insane, going through sample sections, and making it simple but giving it a bit of groove. Just ensuring that whatever you're listening to sounds cool by itself as well with the track. So when it comes to like mixing the drums, not trying to make them the main focus, but at least get them like deep enough that they're still like a driving force. I listen to a lot of like UKG and that kind of stuff where the drums are like the main thing. They're sitting right up front. Whereas this, I don't necessarily want that. Like I kind of want them in a bit more in the back. Yeah.
How do you usually like? What's sort of your process in building them?
Process in building them.
What do you start with?
I start kind of with like I've got my machine at home and I'm a drummer as well, so I kind of like either just tap on the table or tap on the machine to kind of figure out a bit of like a groove, and then we'll go like sample hunting and I have no shame in using samples, and I don't think people should. I think it's great when you can find something that matches, and if someone's already made it, then awesome. And then go through and find any like layers or find any like old breaks that you can use to kind of chop up and put over it and make it interesting. This is probably a bad example of drum production because it is, as you mentioned, it is quite simple. But I still feel
simple is always better, isn't it? And as you mentioned as well, for these sort of songs, because the drums aren't the main focus, I feel like you can get away with it being simple.
But sometimes simple is hard, right? Like sometimes simple is sometimes it's hard to do less.
Because then you start overcomplicating things.
Yeah.
Are you the kind of person who will like drill down on one element of the track? No, because I know I've spoken to a lot of producers on this podcast, and they would legit just sit and just repeat the same drum loop for like hours, just making sure that it's the right.
No, I'm really not a I'm not a like perfectionist by any means. I'm more of like a let's just do it, and then if it works, it works, and we can see what happens later.
Do you have people that sort of focus in on that, like people that you master and mix with?
Yeah, so I work with like I think I've mentioned a few times Caleb. Artist name is Waylai. Check him out. He's kind of the complete opposite to me. We kind of realize we have like the complete opposite end of the spectrum of focus, whereas he loves to focus on like a kick for 6 hours, whereas me, like it's not something that it's not something that I enjoy doing. I'm the type of person that can like I can get a whole song out in like half an hour, right? Like,
that was my next question. Are you the sort of guy that like as you mentioned before, you wrote the last song in like 3 hours?
This one was quick too. I have so much garbage on my laptop, and it's always the stuff that I've like written over the course of like a week or two, right. And then the songs that all of the songs that I've released, I think I wrote them all in like collectively like a day.
You sort of make a track, then make halfway and then leave and come back, or are you the sort of guy that like when you go into a studio you're like I'm leaving the studio with
if I'm in the zone and like I'm like this it depends on, for me in particular, if I don't feel like it's going anywhere at the start, I don't try and push it. I know a lot of people want to finish the project just to try and finish it, but for me, like again, if it doesn't hook me straight away, then I just don't want to waste my time and I'm going to go to try and do something else. Typically, if I know I'm on something, then I'll keep going and I won't let anything get in the way. But I often find the ones that turn out the best are the ones that happen the quickest for me. Anyway,
that's always. I feel like that's the case. Sort of same idea, different concept, but the songs that you don't like as well, are always ones that do the best or sound the best, or stuff like that. Have you had that before with your music? Like a song you release, like not sure about it, but then it does well.
Yeah,
and people you get a response from it.
Like my debut on the Lupo project was Hear You, and I released it without a label, not really thinking. I'd released music before and done the stuff with bands and everything, but this one I was like, I'm just going to chuck it up on Spotify and see what happens. And ended up getting, quite a bit of traction. Like it was used for an ad on Triple J for like a year, where they used it for their like Unearthed ad. So it was, it was weird, like listening to the Hottest 100 countdown. And then they played the ad like before the number one song. So it was like hearing my song before like the number one song was playing.
Yeah, good advertisement.
So I didn't think that was going to go anywhere. And then from that, ended up getting signed to a label from that like one song. And so, yeah, kind of from the get-go with the Lupo project, it kind of happened that way. And I mean, like, we still... things that you put a lot of time into and a lot of investment into emotionally, like, doesn't always come back in like stats. And I think we're very stat driven. Like we're always looking at our monthly listeners on Spotify and all that kind of stuff. It can get really easy to get caught up in all of that.
How do you sort of take yourself away from that?
It is hard, especially because producers inherently we're like solo artists, right? So we're doing the advertising, we're doing the marketing, we're doing we're looking at all elements, right? It's not like a band where you can often divvy up responsibilities. So it is kind of hard to not get stuck and tied down into the data. And you've got tools like Hayden from Newcastle, who runs a party called Daydreaming. He also has a company called Artist Analytica, which releases like reports.
I've seen him around. Yeah,
reports every week, which I think is awesome because it kind of quantifies what you're trying to do if you're not seeing it in like streams. But then also it's like, are we doing this for stats or are we doing it to enjoy ourselves? So it really depends on what you want to get out of it. Yeah.
What's your vision for the Lupo project?
It's a good question.
Do you think this sort of sound is something that you want to stick to, or would you look at exploring different sort of sounds and genres?
Definitely exploring different sounds and genres. I think like even if you look at my remix, like official remixes that I've done, they're all so different to my original music.
Yeah, right.
Like
the Kendrick Lamar
one, or the one I did for Pat Lock was like real garagey. The one I did for Rave Tapes was like trance. I kind of feel like one of the cool things about dance music nowadays as well is that artists are stepping outside of like what their genre is. Like people aren't gatekeeping genres as much anymore, which is really cool. Like you're not just a dubstep guy, you're not just like a bass guy, you're not just a emotional house guy. Like you can do whatever you want, and that's really cool. So the track that the next track, I think it's the next one that's coming out, is a lot heavier. It's real like 808 driven and breaky, and yeah. I actually do write quite a bit of other music that is outside of what I do. I just don't necessarily think I'd release it under the Lupo project. I give songs to other people as well. So there's a few songs that I've written, and even before the Lupo project, that I've written for other people to let them release and add their own like kind of ghost written for them. And I still do that. I just think it's like picking what suits the Lupo brand and Lupo project. But I don't want to tie myself down to one genre. Like it'd be cool to do something with a band one day. Like it'd be awesome. Cool, yeah. I think as well, like the cool thing about, you've got producers who are musicians, producers that aren't musicians, who maybe producers started as DJs. I started as a musician, and then I have DJed for a long time though. And so kind of coming into this and starting the Lupo project later in my life, means that I've got the benefit of kind of like knowing the club scene and cutting my teeth in the club. Like I've been playing in clubs for the last 13 years. So doing a DJ set for me is not foreign, and I love DJing, and I love playing like heavy stuff and adapting to a dance floor. But then when I get the opportunity to with like original stuff, I do live shows as well, and that music really relates over to a live show. I'm playing Big Sound in September, and that'll be a live show. I played at the Vanguard recently with Miramar here in Sydney, and that was a live show. And they're elements of like singing and playing keys and sampling live and that kind of stuff. But I think having the repertoire of like club songs and then like emotionally charged songs, and it kind of allows you to not only grow your audience but like grow that live spectacle too. And everything I do because I love playing live. So that's kind of where that fits in. And I think that the path I'll go down is I want to definitely release a couple of like club tools for DJs to start rinsing, because I did that with the Kendrick Love remix and got quite a bit of love on that one. And if I can do something like with an original that has that same effect, then yeah, that'd be cool.
I think that's the fear of a lot of producers nowadays, is they feel like if they start producing a certain genre, they have to stick with it.
Yeah.
For like their project or their brand. Where I feel like some producers do, and they sort of hit a sound and they just go, they go crazy and they sort of just make a name around. But with a lot of producers, you'll hear like anyone big, like Dom Dollar, for example, different sound to what he used to make.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's experimented a lot.
Dude, he's been around for so long.
Yeah, Skrillex is another example.
Yeah. Dude, original Sonny
started
Moore.
with dubstep.
Yeah.
The
started
full pure dubstep. And then
he started in a hardcore band from first to last. He was a singer, a hardcore band.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Then he was lost his voice and his vocal cords and became a music producer.
Yeah, now he's making like all sorts of music now.
Yeah, now he just is the Don.
He made like a resurgence.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a big fear of a lot of producers, that they think that they have to stick to, if they start their project with one sound, they have to stick with that sound for the rest of their project or career, whatever it is.
I don't know, man. I think it's like you're putting yourself in a box. And you've already done all the hard work. Like, you've already done the hard work getting your name out there and branding. Like, I feel like changing your audience. Just do what you think's right for you. And if you you don't need to keep catering to the audience that you've already built. If it doesn't work for you, then change, right? But if that means rebranding and starting again, then sick. If that just means pivoting where you've gone, then do that. Yeah. But I think like one of the cool things, like I played at a doof last night, right? I didn't play any of my own original songs, but I played some like edits of mine, and that was like, heavy driving, didn't drop between like 138, like kind of set in the middle of the bush in Newcastle. Shout out to the Closure guys who had me on. But that it's so much fun doing those like side quests of different genres.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I think like cater to everyone, cater to no one, do what feels right for you.
Yeah, I feel like as well, like the music producer, you feel like you have to play that same style of music. Like, I'm sure for you want to explore outside of that emotion-driven music, but you also want to explore. You also want to explore it as well.
Yeah,
like you want to do a bit of both.
Yeah,
so just because you produce hard groove doesn't mean you have to play hard groove.
Not at all. Look at like Carl Cox, man. The guy's like 60 years old. And I've watched Carl Cox do a dubstep set. Like,
if anything, it just shows your versatility, and it's actually better branding for yourself in a way. Because if you can play everything, then you can get booked for different parties.
Dude, that's why it's so interesting. Like, you see like DJs come through and producers that come through, and there's some young guys, not young guys, but guys that I've spoken to. I'm like, you're great. Like, where did you learn to read the crowd like that and stuff? And they're like, I've been a wedding DJ for so long. And
that's the toughest crowd.
I'm like, dude, that is the toughest crowd, and they've cut their teeth doing like functions and stuff. And you're like, it's not the coolest thing to do, like according to the DJ scene or whatever, maybe, I don't know, but the skills that those guys build is absolutely mental. And
you definitely need some tough skin after a few weddings, that's for sure. Everyone's had their experience, whether you are a DJ or a wedding goer. You've had your experience with a wedding DJ.
We've all yelled at a DJ at a wedding. It's like part of life, right?
Yeah, feel bad for them.
Yeah.
But if you make it out of that, then
oh man,
it's all good after that. All right, well, yeah, that was actually a really good conversation. I really appreciate you sharing sort of your knowledge and wisdom and breaking down some of your tracks, taking us behind the scenes, because I feel like, you see the track on Spotify and SoundCloud, but you don't actually know what went into it. So it was cool for you to sort of I guess initiate this new style of content for us as well. Hopefully everyone listening enjoyed it. I definitely did. Different element of content. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed it, make sure obviously smash that like button, subscribe, follow Matteo or Lupo. All his links will be in the description. As I mentioned as well, if you have any sort of feedback or recommendations on how we can make this better, feel free to send us a DM and send us an email, or just pop it down in the comments. Besides that, thank you everyone for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Awesome.
Thanks for having me.